clergy and elected officials, and all of you that gathered this convocation. I'm honored to be here tonight, especially for iElevate. I tell you, Council President, I was on a plane about 6-7 weeks ago, and young man Quentin Reynolds came up to where I was. I was sitting up in first class because in honor of Rosa Parks, I don't get in the back of nothing no more. And this young man started talking about Bishop Allen. I said, yeah, I've heard of Bishop Allen. He said, well, you don't know what we do. I said, well, maybe I do know some of what y'all do. He said, well, you got to come and be with us. And he just kept going. I told Bishop when I got here, I said, he outright accosted me. I was looking, how did he get past TSA? Who is that? And we landed. He came back again, and we got off the plane. And James, who traveled with me, said, who is this young man? Well, I tell you who he is. I'm here tonight, ain't I? Because Quentin made me understand that it is important not to support what Bishop Allen is doing from afar, but to be here. And the work he is doing, we all need to be part, because we all need to have enough sense to support one another, because it supports the whole. And I want you to know you have a visionary leader that does not believe that you can shout and empower yourself at the same time. Give a hand to Bishop Allen. I grew up in the Pentecostal church, and when I grew up in Washington Temple Church of God in Christ in Brooklyn, and when I was growing up, when I was 12, my mother brought me to Reverend William Jones, who was Dr. King's chapter leader in New York, and a year later they made me the youth director. I was 13. And the folk in church then thought I had backslid because I was in civil rights. So don't take for granted what Bishop Allen is doing, because there are many that claim Pentecost, but a cop don't know what church you go to. When you have a job and don't get equal pay, they don't know what church you go to. So this is about all of us. You can't read the Bible and believe that God liberated the children of Israel but wouldn't liberate black folk in America. God didn't go out of the liberation business. We went out of the believing that God would use us for liberation. I was in Washington earlier this morning, and I was part of a press conference around this vulgar, obscene family separation policy. I'll leave here tonight, go to New York and join others. We're going to the border tomorrow in Texas. To think and Damon Byam, who runs our Atlanta office of National Action Network, stand up. I want him to shake hands with the candidates, because we need to get all of our man people in Atlanta on that freedom bus with them, because we need to be supporting each other. We keep letting people divide us. That's right. When there is no division when they come after us. That's right. And I don't care what you believe, we all need to fight for the freedom to believe and practice what we believe and empower ourselves in doing so. Well, we live in a country where the moral compass is so perverted that, Bishop, they will take children and put them in cages because their parents come here seeking to get away from oppression. And we tolerate that and have a man sitting in the White House that digs in rather than reflects and repents. And the bad part about it, the worst part of that, is the evangelicals.
Yes, sir.
That tell you and I who to be and who to be with. But hold up this insidious, blasphemous behavior from this president. That's why I'm here with Bishop, because we need to stand up and fight back on what a real church ought to be about. And it is not about locking children in cages. But you just can't fight the global fight. I like what the councilman here from the blackest city in blackest county, I got that. I like what he said, because it is true. You got to also deal local. The greatest national movements were connected local movements. Some of us try to be so grand that we are global revolutionaries and local Uncle Tom.
Okay.
Some of us are so holy that we're so heavenly bound we're no earthly good.
All right.
I go to churches and people be talking about soon I'm going home and get my rest. Rest from what? You need to do some work to get some rest. You've been arrested down here. So it is important as we deal with this iElevate to elevate our mind to what we are here for. God don't owe you a reward if you have not done no work.
That's right.
And many of us are looking for a pay at the end of life when your pay is based on what you do in life. And if you've not done nothing about the conditions that you're in, then you don't deserve anything at the end. The hardest job. I know that Bishop may not want to say it because he got to pastor y'all, but I'm going to tell you something. I'll tell you a little inside preacher's problem. Hardest job of a black preacher, the most difficult task, is to preach the funeral of an irrelevant Negro. That's a hard job. They roll the body down the aisle, lay it out here in front of the altar. Families sitting up there crying and carrying on. And we supposed to get up and hallucinate a life for you. I mean, most folks shouldn't even have a funeral. Because most folks ain't done nothing we can talk about. Everything they did was for them. Got them a nice house, got them a nice car, got them a degree on the wall, got them a little title. None of that'll matter 2 minutes after you gone. Soon as you go, we'll put your house on the market. We'll drive up down I-20 in your car, change the registration plate. The only thing that will matter 2 minutes after you gone is what you've done for more than yourself. You know, I've been honored to do some folks' funerals, and I stopped doing folk funeral that I didn't believe deserved it, Bishop. I remember I did Michael Jackson's funeral. We was coming out the cemetery that night, and one of very well-known artists, I won't call his name because y'all got some cameras and all in here. But he stopped me in the cemetery and said, "Reverend Al?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "I was really moved by that eulogy." I said, "Well, thank you." He said, "No, it really touched me." I said, "Well, thank you." He said, "And if I go first, I want you to do one for me like that." I said, "Well, you're going to give me something to work with." You ought to ask yourself every day, if this is my last day, what can they say about me? Can some child say you taught them something? Can some community group say you came out and served? Did you show up at the Marriott on Saturday? Or were you busy home watching Housewives and you ain't never been one? You cannot fight for anybody.
Yes, sir.
Unless you're going to fight for everybody.
Yes, sir.
Because let me tell you something. When you enforce bigotry, bias, xenophobia, homophobia, misogyny, you then endorse somebody using that against you.
Yeah, right.
I remember when I was 16, I started my own youth group. Guy that gave me the check to start it was an organizer named Bayard Rustin.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
And Bayard Rustin had organized the March on Washington.
Yes, sir. Right, yeah.
And they made him take a back position because he was gay.
Come on now. Yeah.
These were civil rights leaders. They told Bayard he couldn't be up front because he was gay.
Yeah. Tell it. They sure did.
Women were not allowed to speak at the march.
Right.
We got to tear down all of our biases in order to fight for bias.
That's right.
Nobody that Jesus healed did he give a questionnaire to before he healed. He didn't ask any of these qualifying questions.
Yes, sir.
Man laying at the pool of Bethesda, he didn't ask him, "Why you down there? What did you do? Who do you sleep with?" So how do you come in Jesus' name asking questions that Jesus didn't ask? In fact, when he met the woman at the well, and when he met the woman, they were going to stone him. They tried to play the trick on him. He said, "What are you doing?" They said, "We stoning her because we caught her in the act." Now mind you, they wasn't stoning the man, just the woman. She wasn't acting by herself. And then they gonna pull rank and say, "Isn't this the law of Moses?" But read the scripture. They said Jesus took out a stick and just started writing on the ground. And when he looked up, they were all gone.
Right.
And he looked at her and said, "Where are your accusers?" She said, "There are none." He said, "Well, then I don't accuse you to go sin no more." Now, what I thought,
Yes, sir.
in my own way of imagination,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
my cosmic imagination, is that when Jesus was writing, he was writing down some of their whores' names. St. Luke 24th chapter.
That was good. That need to be on Facebook, Instagram.
39th verse reads, and one of the malefactors which were hanged railed on him, saying, if thou be Christ, save thyself and us. But the other answering rebuked him, saying, dost not thou fear God, seeing thou art in the same condemnation? And we indeed justly, for we receive the due reward of our deeds. But this man had done nothing amiss. And he said unto Jesus, Lord, remember me when thou come in thy kingdom. And Jesus answered and said unto him, verily I say unto thee, today shalt thou be with me in paradise. As we talk tonight about our growth and empowering ourselves, the thing that I observed, Bishop, I've been preaching since I was a little boy, is that as I read the scriptures over and over and over again, Jesus never promised anybody they were going to paradise but a dying thief. You got all you big shots in the church. He never promised y'all nothing.
All right, Bishop.
Here where I go. Church full of titles. Everybody in church got a title. But they can't tell me what they do. We can have too many ministers, don't minister to nobody. Too many missionaries with no mission. Too many trustees that can't be trusted. Just titles, but don't live up to nothing. Don't help nobody. Don't care about nobody. And think their exalted title makes them something. You meet folk, I'm sure, Councilwoman, that because they have certain pedigree and lineage and education, they supposed to be all that. All of that ought to add to who you are. It does not make you who you are. Your character and your action define who you are. If you have no character, you can have a PhD, you can have every award in the world. It don't make you any better. It's like putting on cologne without bathing. You just think it works. Who are you inside? What do you stand for? What is it that you really believe in? And how do you demonstrate that in your life? If you're the only one on your block that know you saved, there's something wrong with your salvation. If nobody on your job know you know God, something wrong with you. You ought to show a difference, a sensitivity, a compassion, and an empowerment about you that others don't show. I remember this whole question of civil rights and church and homophobia. I'm going to say this and I'm going to do my message. I'm going to the airport. I got to say this. This whole judgment
good, Reverend.
of people
Talk good, Reverend.
based on your bias
Go ahead, preacher.
and imposing your will
Make it
and act
plain.
like it's God's will.
Make it plain. Make it plain.
That's good.
Our God today. Ooh-wee.
When I started running for president, and they asked me about what they call same-sex marriage, and I said, first of all, I support marriage. Let's start there. No, we're talking about same-sex marriage. I said, that's marriage. Said, well, one of the smart guys from the network, well, Reverend, would you perform a same-sex marriage ceremony? I said, I may have. He said, what do you mean you may have? I said, I don't do inspections before ceremony. I mean, to address nonsense.
That's good.
My sister, only full sister I have, 3 years older than me, is gay. Been gay since I can remember. Used to take me to Greenwich Village when I was a kid. And I'm a boy preacher sitting up there in Cafe Wa and all them places in the village. And church mamas have taught me, blood of Jesus. But some of those I met were the ones that would fight for us. When the anointed, speaking in tongue crowd wouldn't show up at a rally. My sister has a partner, and who's white. And she said, let me get this right, Al. She says, me and she named her partner. We've been together all these years, got a house together, and you telling me you're a civil rights leader of civil rights organization. And if I die, she got to come and get y'all's permission to share in an estate that she helped to build.
Yes, sir.
And you call yourself a freedom fighter?
Go ahead.
So when I came out with the position, Bishop, some of my good friends said, well, Reverend Al, I understand the polemics of it, but you come to my church every year to do my anniversary. I don't know if I can bring you back this year. I said, well, then don't bring me back. Because we need to start being honest with our people. And we need to quit trying to measure and equivocate on people's freedoms and rights. And God knows what He made us, and He didn't tell any of us to second guess what He made us from at birth.
Go ahead.
I think that we've got to put it all onto this old question of what we do with women. This morning in Washington, we had one of the organizers of transgender rights with us, going with me to Texas tomorrow. And we've got to be bold about that if we're going to be bold about anything. And I wanted to say that because somebody here needs to understand that anytime you shrink and decrease from who you are, then you are questioning God.
Go ahead.
And questioning what He's done in your life.
That's right.
And will use your life to exalt you and empower you. Don't play God cheap. If you stand up, God will hold you up. I was watching as I was getting ready to land in Atlanta a few hours ago. When you look at the layouts of cities, it looks much more organized from the sky than when you get down, because you can see it all. And you ever notice, just look at nature, everything happens with precision. The sun never bumped into the moon. Stars don't collide with the moon. Rivers flow and don't nobody have to wake them up. God made everything in order. So why do you think out of all these thousands of years that God ran the earth in precise time and in a precision that's been impeccable?
Yes.
That he waited to get to you to make his first mistake. Mistake. You just mistaken the God that made you and had something for you to do as you are. And if you let man's judgment of you veto God's creation of you, then that's a sin. If you let man cancel God's blessing of you, that's a sin. I don't need you to co-sign God blessing me. So here we find Jesus, who had questioned the Roman authority, stood up to the Romans who had occupied where he was. That's the politics of it for all of you non-political saints. I don't know where you got it from. Jesus was not persecuted for having the Holy Ghost. If you take out the indictment, councilman, he was indicted for stirring up the masses. That's what the indictment read. Which was political. Stirring the folk up. You weren't supposed to tell occupied people that the Roman soldiers wasn't supposed to knock them down and kill them. He was indicted for stopping traffic. Because policemen shoot folk in the back. He was indicted for disrupting the peace, feeding hungry people, healing sick people, giving affordable care to Bartimaeus. That's what they got him for. Betrayed by one of his own. 12 men sitting around. He fed them the Last Supper, and one of them betrayed him. But let me tell you about the power, the grace that you can get as you elevate. Because to elevate means you get above spiritually the forces that you fight. That's why I like Keisha. That's why I like Stacy. Because we're not trying to become black versions of the same thing. We want to elevate, not color in the same diabolical wicked. I don't feel better if a black cop beat me than a white cop. So Jesus was sitting there feeding them the Last Supper, knowing he was at the end of his journey, had done all these things I've said. But when you're elevated, you can look at people that you know ain't right, and you still do right. We had at National Action Network's convention, Patrice Cullors this year, and then we were talking about servants. Let me show you what Jesus did. After the Last Supper, what did he do? The Bible says he took off his garments. And he got down and told his disciples, I'm going to wash your feet. Y'all run around with your pompous arrogance. If you're going to be like Jesus, you got to be a servant. He didn't tell them, I'm the Messiah, I'm about to elevate, y'all all toast me. He said, I'm going to wash y'all's feet. And when he washed them, he even washed Judas's feet. Because you ain't saved yet, so you can serve even your traitor. Stirring up the people. Tried him without a lawyer. Convicted him with no evidence. Made him carry his own death sword up Calvary's mountain. Put a cross on his back. Made him walk that mountain with the cross on his back. None of the folk that he healed came and spoke up for him. None of the 5,000 he fed came and protested. He walked by himself up that mountain. But as he laid there, they mocked him. Said, if you are the king, here's your crown, and crowned him with thorns. Pierced him in the side. But in his final moments, there were two folk on either side, two dying beings. One represented many of us. The other one represented the others of us. The one that represented many was still looking for a shortcut. Still looking for how he could scheme his way out. Saying, if you be God's son, why don't you step down and deliver yourself and take us with you? But then there was another thief on the other side that spoke for me and some of y'all. He said, Lord, I ain't lived a perfect life. I did wrong when I could have done right. I fell down when I could have stood up. But I'm not going to make no excuses about it. I just want to ask one question. I don't have long to go before my tongue clings to the roof of my mouth. Lord, when you come in your kingdom, will you remember me? And Jesus, who never promised a disciple nothing, and Jesus, who never promised a preacher nothing, and Jesus, who didn't promise to minister music nothing, looked at a dying, low-down thief and said, don't worry about it. I didn't come for the big shots. I didn't come for the high and mighty. Today, you shall be with me in paradise. I thought I'd come by and tell somebody, I don't care what you have in your background. I don't care what you've done in your life. You can elevate tonight. And you can go to paradise. You know, Bishop read little of my bio, but there are parts he couldn't read. Because there are parts nobody knows. There are things you and I have done that nobody knows about us. I remember, I was the first one in my family to go to a college. And Mama raised us by herself. Daddy left when I was 9 years old. Mama was a domestic worker. She did the best she could for me and my sister. And she would go take us to the Holiness Church. And she prayed to God to make a way for us. As time went on and I started getting a little known, I never forget a reporter came from the New York Times and said, Reverend, we want to do a profile on you. I said, well, what does that take? He said, well, I'm going to have to travel with you for a week. I want to see everything you do and where you go. And we're going to write the story down. So we ran, he did things with me, went to speeches, went to rallies, went to staff meetings, went to encounters. We got to the Saturday morning rally, and he said, well, what are we going to do the weekend? All of my little crew, y'all call them staff, said, we can't take them to church with you tomorrow. I said, why not? He said, because he won't understand our kind of church. I said, but he won't know my story unless he go to church with me. So I waited until late that Saturday night. We were getting ready to drop him off. I said, I'm going to pick you up early in the morning. I want to take you to church with me. He said, I'm glad you said that, because I've always been intrigued by the black church. I said, what you mean by that? He said, well, we are so quiet and we sing proper anthems, but y'all are so passionate and so emotional, and I want to know what all that means. I let him out the car and we got up the next morning. I brought him to the church. We stood out in the foyer. Before I went to the pulpit with other ministers, he said, Reverend, let me ask you a question. Explain a couple of things to me. He said, there's a man in the front on the right-hand side. He keep waving his hand. What does that mean? I said, oh, you don't know that man. About 5 years ago, the doctors told him he had cancer. He only had 6 months to live. I remember he came by prayer meeting and he got on his knees and he called on God. He said, Lord, you a doctor that never lost a patient. There's more medicine in the hem of your garment than any pharmacy in town. If it be your will, I want you to heal my body. He was supposed to be gone 6 months ago, but it's 5 years later and he's still here. And every time the church don't open, he just waves his hand. Yeah. I got ready to go. He said, wait a minute. Before you go, there's a man on the other side. Keep clapping his hands up and down like this. What is that all about? I said, that man got busted by a dirty cop who lied on him in the court. When the jury went out, he had a praying mama. His mama said, I don't know about no prosecution. I don't know about no defense. All I know is the prayers of the righteous avail much. He was supposed to get 20 years in jail, but the jury let him go. And every time he hears the church bell, he just claps his hands. I said, I gotta go now. I gotta get to the pulpit. He She keeps jumping out of seat. She leans to the side, keep jumping up and down. What is that all about? I said, you don't know that lady's story. Her and her husband had a nice business. They used to build all kind of homes. He used to buy a new Cadillac every year for Christmas. But one day, she got up and her husband walked out, and she held on long as she could. But they came and repossessed the Cadillac. They cut the lights and gas off, and she had to take her little children. She had a little girl and a little boy, and moved into the hood and had to raise them, not in a Cadillac, but raise them in the housing projects. But she used to walk to the subway, holding their little hands, saying, don't worry about daddy's gone. God will make a way out of no way. Don't worry that we don't have food like we used to. The Lord will make a way. And she lived to see that little girl and that little boy grow up and be somebody. And every time she's sitting in service and think how God brought her children through, she jumps up out of her seat and turns to the side and starts jumping up and down. I headed on to the pulpit there, but before I got halfway down the aisle, I turned back to him and said the reason I know her story is I'm her little boy. He walks with me. He walks with me. He walks with me. He talks with me. He tells me that I'm his own. He did food when I was hungry. He did water when I was thirsty. He's my rock, my sword and shield, my wheel, my wheel, my wheel. In the middle of the wheel, he's the lily of the valley, the bright and morning star. He woke me up this morning, started me on my way. Yeah, yeah, yeah. In my life, I've had to cry sometimes. In my life, I walked alone sometimes. I've been lied on, cheated, talked about. I've been mistreated. I've been up. I've been down. I've been leveled to the ground. I've been stabbed. I've been prosecuted. But through it all, through it all, through it all, trust in Jesus. I learned to trust in God. Through it all, through it all. I learned to depend on His word. He'll make a way. He'll make a way. He'll make a way. Yes, He will. Yes, He will. Bishop brought me in, I heard the choir sing. I wish I could sing like that, but God didn't give me that gift. Then sister led the choir song. I wish I had that gift, but God didn't give me that gift. But sometimes sadness in the midnight hours, after my cell phone stops ringing, after my doorbell quiet down, I go out in my living room all by myself song I can't sing for Bishop's anniversary.